But let's get back to Eastern Europe. The situation there is, once again, in the spotlight. Recently, officials in Washington mentioned that support for Ukraine could include assistance from the air, while at the same time confidences were growing that Russia was preparing for a new offensive. What does this mean? Is there going to be direct military confrontation between NATO and Russia? And what kind of response will Moscow have? We'll discuss all of this and more on the show today. And we'll start with some statements made by U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. He spoke with his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron's foreign policy advisor. And afterward, the two released a joint statement. It said, quote, "We discussed the importance of a transatlantic response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, including by providing Ukraine with the assistance it needs to defend itself, such as assistance from the air." Now, this is very vague, but one thing is clear. They are talking about giving Ukraine the means to strike deep inside Russia. Kiev has been hinting at something like this for a long time. In November last year, President Zelensky said, "If we do not receive the weapons that would allow us to destroy the aggressor's logistics system, we will lose everything. This will be the second biggest tragedy after the loss of life." He's talking about destroying Russian logistics behind the front lines. In other words, attacking Russian airfields and ammunition depots. Until now, Western countries have refused to go along with it. They feared it would provoke a large-scale response from Moscow, possibly even a tactical nuclear strike. But now, things seem to be changing. Let me remind you of another statement made by U.S. officials last week. A Pentagon spokesman said America is providing Ukraine with intelligence, training, and equipment to, quote, "go after airfields." That's pretty serious. For the first time, Washington is openly discussing strikes on Russian territory. Naturally, such a move would escalate the conflict dramatically. Russia would certainly respond, and it would not be proportionate. No way! Just think about it. If Ukraine attacks targets inside Russia, even if it's just an airfield, Moscow can respond by attacking Ukrainian command centers or even government offices in Kiev. Technically, this is still part of the special military operation. Remember what Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said recently? He said that Russia has not yet started the third phase of the special military operation. So, technically, the war is still on. And if it's not over, then anything can happen. Russia can attack any target inside Ukraine, including government offices. What is Washington trying to do? Are they pushing Russia to end the third phase of the special military operation as soon as possible? Well, that's hard to say. But we have to understand one thing. Russia won't stand idly by if Ukraine attacks its territory. And this could happen at any moment. Kiev has received many powerful weapons from the West since the beginning of the year. Think about the Patriot air defense systems, the Abrams, and Leopard tanks. All of these weapons can be used to attack Russian territory. So it's only a matter of time before it happens. As for the alleged Russian offensive, it may already be happening. Do you remember what I said about technicalities? Well, here's another example. Over the weekend, there were reports that the Wagner Group had captured the town of Marinka. That's a small settlement in But wait a minute! Isn't Marinka under the control of Ukrainian forces? Well, yes, but they haven't launched an offensive to retake it. This means that technically, the Russian offensive has already begun. There's no other way to explain it. It looks like the West is deliberately provoking Russia. They want to lure Moscow into a large-scale response. Then they'll have a reason to accuse Russia of escalating the situation. And you know what comes next? More weapons for Ukraine and more sanctions for Russia. That's exactly what the United States wants. Well, Russia knows this, so it will hardly take the bait. There's another possibility. Russia could launch a massive preemptive strike against Ukraine. Destroy as much of the military infrastructure as possible. Push the Ukrainian army away from the border and then stop. But this is unlikely. Russia does not need this war to drag on indefinitely. It's already weakened the West significantly. So I don't think Moscow will go for a complete victory. Its main goal right now is to force the collective West to the negotiating table. And it looks like they're doing a pretty good job of it.